Okay, cool. So now that we've got our main mesh kind of, working fairly well here, the sorts of things you'll want to consider at this point before moving forward is, where we can actually clean up our mesh so that we're not using unnecessary faces wherever possible, so that we're using good geometry wherever possible, just so everything works that much smoother. So a couple of things to keep in mind within a game engine. If you can't see something, you don't need it, right? So in this case, if we look on the back side here, especially this face here, so the first thing we can do is we can go ahead, select this back face and hit delete, right? Because that'll never ever be seen. It does not matter at all. The same is true of the faces on the inside here of all of these. So again, you could come in here, select all these faces. I'm going to turn that occlude off because it's a bit harder to select than necessary, because you'll never ever see any of these faces. They are completely pointless. So let's go ahead and delete those. The same is true of these faces here on the ends of these rods, on both ends in fact. So if I go face, and here might be actually a really good trick. So if I just press Control A, it'll select everything, right? So rather than selecting each face that I can't see inside of here, what I can actually do is I can hold I can hold Shift. Oh no, it is Control. Oh, sorry. I can hold Control and drag, but the problem is I don't have occlude on. So Control drag, and I'm deselecting everything on the inside. So again, just going ahead and deselecting all the faces I want to keep, and then hitting delete. So all those faces are gone. So what else? So we could go in here and we could probably do these faces too on the backs of these. It really depends on whether or not you expect your viewer, your player, to be able to get behind this enough to see it. In this case, probably not. You probably could get away with not having these visible. So in this case, I'm actually going to probably get rid of these, only because they really are not serving much of a purpose. And actually what it will do is it will let me play around with the size of this a bit more, because I don't really like how thick it is at the moment. After having looked at it, I'm not too pleased. So again, faces, and I'll do the same with these ones. So just shift selecting, and delete faces. Great. So from the front, we don't even notice a difference. Even from a close angle like this, we don't even notice that those faces are gone. So we could do the same probably with these two faces back here, but I'm probably just going to use those as a seam point anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this face in the front and I'm going to move that further forward because I want a bit more angle to it. And then I'm going to go ahead and select all of my spikes. And I'm going to move those forward. And then I'm going to take this edge loop at the back here. So I'm just going to go edge. And a neat little trick is if you want to select a whole edge ring, you can just double click that edge, one of those points on that edge, and it will select the whole ring. So now that I've got that selected, I can just move that in and make it like that. Great. Alright, so I'm liking that a bit better. Let's just make sure my glass face is still fine. I don't think I've done anything to that. So that's awesome. Great, so let's close that face off. And one other thing you can really do here, just to make sure that your meshes are as neat as they can be and clean as they can be, is you can use the cleanup tools that come with machine tools, just to kind of automate some of the process of deleting redundant faces, to delete faces that are sitting on top of each other. So an instance where that might happen is where you've duplicated an object and not moved it from its initial point. So you'd have two of the same meshes on top of each other, but they'd act as the same mesh, and they'd have little problems. Usually there's little signs of that, like black flickering on these faces. Not always, so it's always a good idea to go ahead and do a cleanup before we move on to any other steps. So